Met up with Peter Johnson and he told the apartheid through his eyes.
Did you ever witness people being harassed by, obviously the colored people being harassed by whites or police?
Um, yes, on a minor scale, for argument's sake, they would arrest anybody, but most of the people that were arrested were the lower class coloured people, and that's where our notice is.
Can you give us an example of what you saw?
It could either be for the person being drunk or the person theft.
How are you affected by the law being separate from the different races?
You don't actually realize that it is there. You wonder sometimes why it was there. But today I can see why, but it was wrong. I don't believe that it should have been separate things. But if I look today, you can possibly, they foresee that this could happen, but it was never right. Never ever right. I prefer it to be the way it is today, as long as we can feel free to walk where we want to walk, or go out whenever we want to. Because you're isolated, really.
How did you respond to the Separate Immunities Act?
It was every day of life, and as far as on the white side of the law, it didn't affect us at all.
The apartheid did not just affect people of colour, but as well as non-Afrikaans speaking people. The Afrikaans people did not take positive to this, and we met up with Brendan to tell us more.
Right. Could you share your experience with us of what you saw at school and...
When I went to high school, went to school in Messina, came from Zimbabwe at the time, and there was a lot of Zimbabweans went to the school in Messina simply because the mine had closed down and they needed to keep the school going. So the South African government at the time gave Zimbabweans bursaries and pretty much scholarships, like you call them now. And when we arrived there, we were not received very well by the Afrikaans children, and the teachers as well. Sort of like gave us a lot of uphill. Pretty much every day, you'd have 2 breaks, regardless of what was going on. It was just always running battles between the Zimbabwe children and the Afrikaans children. Eventually, we started sort of like uniting together, and by the time I got into grade 9, 10, our class was actually quite friendly with Afrikaans people, and we became like solid mates, I suppose it's just a culture thing, 2 cultures coming together need to, understand each other. So we respected them and they respected us in the end. And we all got on.
We see that the Afrikaans people and the non-Afrikaans people soon unite. We also see soon that the apartheid goes the same way.
During your time at school, during the act and apartheid, what was it like to be at school?
To be at school was okay. The only problem was that the people on the other side, i.e. coloured people, and the black people, they refused to go to school because of the apartheid law, so it affected their education.
Sheila shared with us a deep and depressing memory of the apartheid.
Did you ever witness people of colour being harassed by white people or police?
No, not really, I can't remember. I think because of my dad, that sticks out in my memory when I was 12. There were 6 children and it was very difficult years. But my mom, all she said was, let's move on.
Explain what happened to your father.
He was murdered by three coloureds. Because the lady saw from the window, but she couldn't do anything. There were no phones. She couldn't. There was nobody there that she could report it to, and he just bled himself to death.
And your mom just said, "Move on."
My mom said, "Look, it's no use. We can't look back and there were 6 of us, and she never worked. So it was very, very difficult years. So, but I never revenged. I was never against the colours because that happened, you know.
What were the Afrikaans people like outside of school? Especially parents, maybe older siblings. What were they like?
Some of the parents, the older generation were not bad. I mean, when we arrived there, as I said before, there was so many Zimbabwe kids, not enough places in the hostel and all that. And a lot of the Afrikaans parents put us up in their own homes. Yeah, really didn't see much of the apartheid regime, you know. Basically, home and school, sports. There were no black kids in our school at the time. But yeah, other than that, the older folk were very kind to us.
Did you see any laws being broken when you were outside, maybe doing recreational activities, especially the Separate Immunities Act?
No, I never saw any laws being broken, but it was pretty clear that the black people were not allowed anywhere near the white areas. You know, they weren't allowed to use the white toilets. There was white toilets and black toilets, and you know, places where we went, the only time we saw a black person was the person who was working there. There was no black people were allowed to socialize with white people.
What was society like in terms of the blacks and the whites? What was the atmosphere? What was the vibe?
Well, if you say blacks, do you mean colours as well?
Colours, all people.
Well, I'll tell you, there was no good relationship between the colours and the blacks. They didn't like the colours stood by our side. Now, especially now, whereas the black is all on one-sided, and I think it's because of the politics at the moment, the way things are going, that you get that. But you can't do that. I feel that but I still work with blacks here, and absolutely, to me they're the best workers. But I offer them jobs so that they can also make a living.
Did you ever see the act being broken?